My name is Julienne Barrett, and I am an interior designer, and I do custom homes, residential, all types of residential design at a firm in the East Bay of California.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today and answering my questions about what writing is like in your industry. So the first question that I have for you is, what are some common types of documents or written materials that you are responsible for creating in your role? Or in general, how does writing factor into your daily tasks?
So in my role, there's quite a few different things I have to write. There's proposals, like proposals for new projects or proposals for construction, like estimates, invoices to invoice time for design as well as like construction invoices, billing clients for materials and subcontractor costs. Occasionally, I have to write descriptions for projects that we post online. I have to write photo captions like for Instagram posts. I write newsletters. And then, of course, I have daily emails and text messages and Slack messages that I'm constantly having to write. That's a definite like daily basis thing. Another important thing I have to write is we have to submit our projects to like cities to get permits. And a
Hmm.
lot of those submittals require a response letter to cities' comments about revisions for your plans, and those comments are very, um the comments sometimes are very, like, specific and or misleading, and you have to read the comment and interpret it and respond to it the way they're asking you to respond to it. It's a little hard to explain, but, like, they purposely make it difficult to discourage people from doing projects, which is fun.
And that's interesting.
And also, I think there's a lot of, like, language barriers among people who are working and writing these comments. Like, you could tell
Mm.
that English may not be their first language, but so another thing I have to write is response letters to these city comments to tell them, like, how we fix the problem and where they can find the information.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a good mix of like very structured, very specific kinds of writing that you're responsible for, as well as more unstructured and kind of creative writing.
Mhm.
Okay, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so would you be able to share an instance in which constructive criticism significantly improved something that you were writing? For example, if you have ever been told that your writing was confusing or it was inaccurate or just otherwise in need of revision, what did you do with that feedback?
The only instance I can think of for this, it's more of a feedback of, like, what I wrote, not some or maybe how I wrote versus what I wrote. We
Okay.
had an invoice, we bill our clients biweekly, and we write descriptions of what we do and then how much that costs, like, how much how many hours it took, and that's the cost.
Hmm.
These clients once who I think I wrote drove to their house, like, on the invoice and
Uh-huh.
charged them for that time because we charge time to travel.
Okay.
And they kind of, like, had a little hissy fit about it and were like, "Well, how do we know you're not stopping at Starbucks?" And
Oh
like,
gosh.
so we learned after that to not even put, like, driving
Okay.
voice, we just eliminate that, we just say, meeting at client house, and that's it. And we,
Okay.
bill the hours in that line item without being too specific on how long was the drive, how long was the meeting, how long was the drive home. We just say meeting, and that's it. So
Okay.
that's
Got
the
it.
way I've learned to like sometimes being too specific is bad in this industry
Yeah.
because people get like nitpicky and they don't want to feel nickel and dimed.
Yeah, of course. Nobody wants to feel nickel and dimed, but that's a good example of like having to be very intentional about the language that you use, and
Right.
it having some pretty unpleasant consequences. Okay, cool. Thank you. So This is sort of similar to the previous set of questions, but what writing challenges or difficulties have you encountered in your field? For example, what do you do when you have to write something but you don't know how to do it? Do you use any tools or templates or resources? Do you ever use things like ChatGPT or Grammarly or anything similar to that?
Yeah, I use ChatGPT a lot in the last few months to address this 42-page city comment letter that I had to respond to.
Wow.
I used ChatGPT not only to like formulate my responses, but also to like interpret what the comment was asking for. Because
Oh, okay.
the comments will be like, per code CRC, blah, 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 you must do XYZ. And I wouldn't always know what that meant. So I'd ask ChatGPT to like break it down for me and then like tell me how I would literally write, how do I respond to this comment? And
Mm,
it would tell me and I would use the response. So for non-creative things, I feel like using ChatGPT is like I'm not a huge fan of ChatGPT because I don't like the way it like is impacting human art, but I
mm,
used it for that because I'm like, it's just a city comment letter and I need like technical information from it. I
hmm.
have coworkers, my coworkers and I are also like responsible for writing all of our newsletters that go out bi-weekly and
Oh,
sometimes
wow.
they like to use ChatGPT to write those and I'm like vehemently against it. I'm like,
Mm,
I'm not gonna write a newsletter by ChatGPT. I'm gonna write it myself.
mm,
But my challenge with that is like I don't have the time to dedicate to writing like a very good newsletter. So sometimes I feel like my newsletters are they're just not like as good as they could be because I'm not dedicating enough time and care to do it.
got it. So you use it situationally. You use
Yeah.
like kind of AI situationally
Yeah.
and kind of only when you're pressed for time and you use it strategically.
Yeah. Like I don't, I don't need a chat GPT to help me write every single email. I'm just gonna write an email and send it.
Right.
Like for city comments that I'm not sure like how to respond, then I do use it because it is helpful to know exactly like what the question is and what to
Okay.
say to
Yeah.
fill it.
Okay, cool. Interesting. Good answer.
I also call you if I need help.
Well, yes, obviously. I mean, but that's also smart too. Like if you don't know how to do something, what do? You find someone who probably does know how to do something. That is
Exactly.
just that's working smart,
Yeah.
you know? And
Exactly.
I'm in favor of that. So awesome. I'm also very biased because I like it when you ask me for help with writing things. Okay. So how do you approach writing something that's complex or collaborative? Something that you might have to write with other people. Do you ever need to adapt your writing for non-experts in your field?
Oh, we don't have a lot of collaborative writing in my field other than maybe like the whole team will put our eyes on like a description for a project that we're going to
Mhm.
post on the website and be like, okay, does this sound good? And like we'll edit each other's writing, we'll edit each other's newsletters. Like we always have a person peer edit the newsletter before we send it.
Okay.
Um, and then sometimes I have to like sometimes if like Henry or I or like anyone is going to send an email that's a little like it's like a risky email
Hmm.
or like a long important email, we'll like have each other read it and make sure it like is right and
Yeah.
sounds good and is spelled correctly. So that's kind of the only time it's collaborative. And then as far as like um writing for non-experts, most of the people I talk to, like most people I communicate with are in my field, so they pretty much know what I'm talking about. But if I ever have to speak to a client about something, I do tend to like explain things very simply. I
Mm-hmm.
try to like write my emails very concisely so it's not like all over the place and confusing.
Hmm.
And I might over explain or explain something differently than I would to an industry person so that they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That sounds smart. Awesome. Okay. And then last question for you is, can you share a piece of writing or a piece of advice that changed how you write?
I don't know. I don't really have like an example. I don't have a piece that changed how I write. My advice or like advice I've received might be like, I don't know. I don't really have a good answer for this question.
That's okay. That's okay.
Make something up.
I mean, I will say, I think you said something that I think is good writing advice for anybody. In your previous answer, when you were talking about kind of using different language when you're communicating with clients who may not know like the lingo that people in your line of work do. So
Mhm.
just breaking things down, simplifying things, that's good writing advice for anybody, because I think anybody in any industry would kind of have to adapt how they write,
Yeah.
depending on who the client is. So,
Yeah.
so that's a good answer.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I
Good.
really appreciate your time and your willingness to participate, so that students can learn from an actual real life working interior designer and figure out how writing kind of intersects with that industry.
Thank you so much for interviewing me. It was fun.
Thank you.